And we are back with SGMD. Here's a question. What do you get when you put a freestyle rapper and a jazz musician into a functional MRI machine? This is not a joke. What you might get is a glimpse into the brain at the neural basis of creativity. We're taking a close look at creativity this morning, and we begin in Baltimore at Johns Hopkins University. All that jazz. It's improvisation. Nearly constant reinvention. And those syncopated sounds are providing vital clues about what creativity looks like in the brain. So you just came up with that?
Yeah, that's why it was so bad. Yeah.
No, it was good. It was really good. Dr. Charles Lim is an ear, nose, and throat surgeon at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. I didn't expect to see the guitars and the keyboard here in an ENT surgeon's office.
Exactly.
His love for jazz spilled over into his work. So you're listening to jazz and you said, I wonder what's going on inside that guy's brain right now.
Exactly. That's exactly the question I've had.
The next question, how to measure creativity in the brain. So Dr. Lim took jazz musicians like David Kane, put them into an MRI machine, and let them improvise.
Play melody.
While looking to see what parts of the brain activate.
Stop.
He then expanded his study to an unorthodox group of improvisers.
Well, this may not be what you expect when you're trying to find the center of creativity in the brain, but it could be. On the screen over here, a guy named A-Class. He's a freestyle rapper. He is rapping freestyle right now, and while that's happening, they're doing an MRI of his brain, a functional MRI, to find out what lights up and what doesn't. So, jazz musicians, freestyle rappers as a model for creativity.
Exactly.
And what have you found?
Well, this is showing areas of the brain that are active during musical performance and playing a piano. But when you switch to improvisation, you've got this area that's shutting down. You've got this area that's turning on.
So could that be the center for creativity?
It gets really interesting when you start thinking about what those things do. This area that went on tends to be thought of as kind of a self-referential, autobiographical kind of area. This area that shut off tends to be involved in a lot of things, but among those things is self-inhibition and monitoring, conscious self-monitoring.
So you're inhibiting one part, which may be the part that would normally prevent you from expressing yourself, and you're amping up the self-expression.
At a very basic level, I do think that's what's happening.
But before the brain can amp up self-expression, it must have a foundation. After that, says Lim, it's about letting go. Similar to how your brain functions in a dream or in a meditative state.
I view this as a neurological description of letting go.
Yeah. I like that. You need to let go to be creative.
I think it helps quite a bit. Yeah. You can't let go in 100% because you're still playing an instrument, but to really, really, to in a way turn yourself off so that you can just trust in these creative impulses and not shut them down.
But can this be taught?
I think that creativity is, children have it in untrained form, and you're almost, it's innate. I mean, when you see an infant being creative, no one taught them how to do that.
New thinking about children. You joining me from San Francisco. Poe, thank you. You know, I found that just working on that piece really fascinating. You heard me talk with Dr. Lim, and you could tell that I sort of seized under this idea of letting go. I mean, our kids, first of all, as a starting point, are kids better than that, better at that than adults because they're less inhibited? They're just younger.
The neural systems of inhibition are ones that wire up in kids, so I wouldn't say they're good at letting themselves go. They're born letting themselves go. They learn to inhibit themselves, and then they have to relearn to disinhibit. They have to learn to let go. But just to be clear, creativity is both the production of new ideas and that are novel and that are valuable to a given social context. So you have to critique your ideas at the same time. So you have to go through these blender pulses of letting go and then evaluating, letting go and then evaluating.
So let's say you're sort of wiring up, as you say, and then you get to the point where you want to, you know, let go, not censor yourself as much. You have the content, you have the idea, and it's a good one. How do you let go then? I mean, how do you disinhibit, if you will, to some extent?
Well, let's talk about it just in the home, because you were talking about kids. So, you know, I'm here in San Francisco. When kids here drive across the Golden Gate Bridge, they ask their parents, Mom, Dad, how come the bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, is orange? And a lot of parents could answer that question. But as parents, what we need to do to encourage their creativity, to sort of wire up these neural networks, is use that as a learning moment to force them to generate lots of ideas, to turn it back into that back seat and say, come up with as many ideas as you can as to why it might be orange rather than golden colored. And then evaluate those for what do they think is the best idea.
My kids, quick question,
Right.
but they talk about imaginary friends sometimes, or, you know, they obviously watch a lot of things that create their own imaginary worlds. Is that valuable?
Wow, Sanjay, you've got some good kids. Those are good signs, because one of the most interesting works is on what's called paracosms. And paracosms are these sort of alternative worlds that kids create. The paracosm creation or paracosm ideation peaks at around age 9 or 10. And other things for young kids. When they're free playing, if they can do a lot of role playing, that helps their creativity, because they learn to sort of see something from multiple perspectives. And the other thing with young kids when they're doing their free play that you'll see, and we're talking now again 4 to 7 years old, is they might actually look angry. They're going to show a lot of what's called negative emotions in their free play. And it's because play is the only safe harbor for these sort of challenging and threatening and hostile thoughts that they don't know what to do with when they're out there in the real world in which they have to inhibit themselves.
You know, it's just hearing you talk, I see exactly what you're describing, and I bet you a lot of other people listening see the same thing in their kids as well. It makes a lot more sense. It's a fascinating topic, Poe. The book is great, Nurture Shock. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sanjay. It's great to be with you.
All right, and we'll be right back.